Ah ouais, ah, j'arrive pas à le faire.
What's going on, guys? Waco from Revolution, and I have the great pleasure of hanging out with two guys that I consider to be important future leaders of the watch industry for many reasons. But let me introduce them to you. Guillaume Laidet, who is the boss of both Nivada Grenchen and also Vulcan, and I like to consider him to be the greatest revival master of our generation. And a man who is, how shall I put him? He's like the Marcel Duchamp. He's like the merry prankster of watchmaking. He goes by the nom de plume, Seconde, but his name is Romaric André. How are you today?
I'm very fine. Very fine. Thanks for coming in my place at home in Paris. So I'm very happy to have you both here and all the team.
Thank you.
And I'm super excited to show you the next collaboration we are going to make.
Amazing.
Yeah.
Well, you know, let's talk about a little bit of both of your careers first. You know, Guillaume, I talk about you as being sort of like riding this massive wave right now. I believe in the story that I wrote about this, an 86-foot monster, because you are the man behind some of the most successful revivals that are happening right now. Nivada Grenchen, first of all, and now with Vulcan as well. But tell me a bit about your background, how you got into the business of reviving these brands, and why you're making such beautiful and successful watches. It's such a great value proposition.
Thank you. I came in the watchmaking industry, 10 years, a bit more than 10 years ago, sorry, at Zenith. I was working with Jean-Frédéric Dufour and Romain Marietta at Zenith. Romain is still there. And so I learned there, then I learned to Gégère-Lecoultre for 3 years also. And then I was one of the first to make the Kickstarter project. So I created a brand on Kickstarter, William L, 1985, that I ran for 5 years and expand worldwide. And then I mixed my two knowledge of the watchmaking industry, more Swiss, and the other with better value, I would say, for products, more cheap watches at 200 USD, and I mixed my knowledge of both, and I used that to first relaunch Nivada Grenchen, because from my contact in the industry, I was able to enter in contact with the billionaire guy who is owning Nivada in Mexico, and I present him a business plan, and that's how we started with Nivada almost 3 years ago now, and that we are now selling more than around 5,000 watches a year now.
Wow!
Yeah.
So, incredible.
So mostly online, and now we have started to retail also,
right? To
wholesale, and to make some cool collaboration with Romaric. That we met together on Instagram, saying, "Oh, I love what you're doing," and I say, "Oh, I love what you're doing," and then it happens.
I heard the exact words are, "You make some good shit."
Yes, exactly. exactly, but in French.
Okay.
Because we are both French. Yes.
It doesn't work that well in French.
But my French is terrible too, and as you can hear, my terrible accent in English. But yes, and we exchanged some good message about our works, and then we naturally come to the first collaboration with the Depthmaster, Seconde with the jellyfish. So I will let Romaric explain a bit more the concept if he wants.
Yeah, so Romaric, first of all, tell us about yourself. Who are you? And then tell us about, after you had this entertaining exchange of language on Instagram, how you guys got together and created this really cool watch.
My background was not like the explanation for why I'm here today, because I was in the business environment, wanted to become maybe a banker or working in finance, and I started to work as an auditor, a financial auditor. So that was my life, and I've been working like 1-2 years, and then at some point I could feel that it was not maybe what I had inside me. So I wanted to try something, and I started to try something quite big for me at this time. We wanted to go the luxury mobile phone. We wanted to go into that business, into that industry. It was like 2005. We could see some success with Vertu. That was the Nokia subsidiary. And so we were like, okay, so if there is some room for $2,000 mobile phone, maybe there is room for $10,000 mobile phone. So that was the logic. And we wanted to add some micro mechanics on it. and we ended up with a clamshell mobile phone. On the top of it, you had a tourbillon mechanism that was rewinded by the action of opening and closing your clamshell. Right. So we were creating this kind of interaction between your common use of a mobile phone and then having an impact on this mechanical tourbillon clock on it. So a bit crazy, quite an hybridation between two worlds. We managed to raise money, quite a significant amount, and we managed to make products and to retail those, and we could felt some traction, but never enough to be sustainable, never enough to really develop, to really propose different collections and stuff like that. So at the end, it was done. The investors were not happy, obviously, and they said, oh, that's the end of the story. And so I was a little bit down. I don't want to raise millions of euro anymore. It's too much finding the investors and stuff like that. I don't want to work with a board room. I want to be more agile. But what can I do? I love watches, and then that was really the shortcut to let's buy some vintage pieces. That was not that expensive, and let's try to twist them. So I've got my brand without millions of euros, without 10 years of research and development. Of course, it's not a brand, but maybe I got something. And then you start to show your stuff to people that you knew, that I knew from my first life. And then, okay, so at the beginning you say, what the fuck are you doing?
Some cool shit.
To some people, it made sense. Okay, you are changing the look of the vintage watches without destroying the value because you are keeping the original and you are just swapping ends. So, okay, that's fun, that's relevant. Huh? And then I keep going. And I'm gonna congratulate myself here because I kept going. And at some point, you've got brand that say, you've got quite an interesting universe. Maybe we can collab. And then collabs makes more relevant my vintage side of the business. So I really like to work both. So I need people like Guillaume to be like triggered but by what I'm doing. And then that's a pleasure to work and then to brainstorm. And then I like to be like a little bit a pain in the ass for those brains like that because they come and we have a strong DNA. Can you play with our DNA? And I'm not playing with their DNA. I'm trying to break it. Yes. So I love to be a little bit like disturbing, not provocative, but I like to tease.
Yeah, but that's what I love about what you do. Every time I've seen one of your watches, I look at it, and the first thing that happens is I smile because it's and it's funny because in the past people think of guys who customize watches as starting by changing the color or changing the dial, but you start with an intellectual there's an intellectual challenge, right? And
intellectual is a big word, but I try not to be like obvious.
It's just really clever. Like, so for example, I think when I saw the Messina Lab, big eye, chronograph, the fact that you'd actually use eyes as like seconds and minute counters as well, and they were different sizes because it's a big eye like chronograph was hilarious.
And there is a backstory to that big eye. It kind of looked as well like the emoticons that is a little bit skeptical, like that. Because at this moment, William Masséna were re-editing icons. Yes. But with his name on it, and he knew, and I could feel it as well that maybe the community would say, "Do I look this watch already? This watch remind me something." Yes. So this got this skeptical look on it. So yes, he was totally re-editing the big eye, the universal big eye. So again, there is. I like when there is many layers.
Well, I love the fact that you took the skepticism that the community had about that and integrated that into the watch. In the same way when you did the Moser, right, the concept, which was about erasing everything. Yeah. And by erasing everything, you create the identity, you put a digitized eraser on there. Yes. That was great as well.
Thank you. I knew the Mellon family since long time ago, and then I know that they knew what I was doing. And I was like, I was expecting something with Mother, but I could not go to there and say, can we make a collab? Can we make a collab? But they came and I was proposing things, but they, at one moment, it really, how do you say, enter in resonance, you know? Like they were thinking about erasing their logo, going like full minimalism. Right. And I already sent them, like two years before, this idea of an eraser, but on another way. And that, so it took time, but at the end, they went, I came because it made sense for me, because I like this idea, and it made sense for them because they were going that road of minimalism and erasing things.
But you know, another dimension to what you create, and I when I was, you know, a student, I read Saussure, you know, and I love phonetics and the subtlety of language, and I love what you do when you play with language as well. So instead of Louis Erard, Louis Error. Instead of Bamford, bad form, you know?
Yes, this one is cool.
That's some good shit.
Yeah.
We have to do a good shit.
Yes. He will come back next week with an idea, you can be sure.
That's what I meant before when I was saying I like to push a little bit the brands, because they are the brand, I'm just the collaborator, you know? So I feel like a little bit in inferiority, a little bit. I'm just, would you like to do a collaboration? So, but I'm like that in my life. I'm like to tease people, even if, because I'm like that. Sometimes I can feel uncomfortable. For example, that's not my comfort zone here to talk. It's not my comfort zone. So when I feel like that, I like to express myself by teasing. So I'm teasing Louis Erard to Louis Error. So when I sent that idea to Manuel Emsch, that I not really knew, but I knew it was impossible that he would accept. But you know, so I'm expecting the rejection, but what I'm sending is quite teasing. So you know, I'm like in an inferiority place, but I'm like, fuck you. Fuck you. Is that, you know what you know that I try to reflect the position, you know, the feeling that I have.
Headphones are on, right? I'm sorry. Guillaume's daughter is in the next room. I'm just trying to make sure that her headphones are on.
It's okay.
Well, we'll keep that in the video.
If I go too far.
No, but I love that also, because I almost feel as if that for like a brand to make a collaboration with you, they have to have the intelligence not to take themselves completely seriously, right?
Yes, but I do respect as well brands that are gonna tell me we've got a really fine, strong DNA. We don't need. It's not our mission to play and to make our DNA vibrate. We want to stick to this line. I received a lot of rejections from brands. Come on, we cannot do that. And I get it, but I have to try, and I totally respect both brands, the one that say, no, we don't want, or brands that are more like open to play with that.
Amazing. So let's go from there to the watch that's on your wrist. But okay, Guillaume, give us a little bit of a background on the Depthmaster, because I know that was at one point the deepest diving watch in the world before Rolex eventually did the Sea Dweller, correct?
Yeah, exactly. It was one of the first watch to go to 1,000 meter water resistance. So, and it has a strong DNA. Shocking case, very cool watch with the Art Deco dial, nicknamed the Pac-Man afterwards. And when I found the vintage one, it was sure I was going to reedit it. I first did the Chronomaster and the Antarctic, but the Depthmaster was in target to do it again, because it's the perfect piece with the cushion case. Love the bezel, and when we started to play with the Pac-Man ID, and that's with the name, and that's how we start to ping pong on this with Romaric, and then naturally the jellyfish of the Pac-Man video game came
from the ghost of Pac-Man became the jellyfish. Because I wanted to play with the Depthmaster, and usually when you are
yes, it was one of the first.
So no, not Depthmaster, but Depthmaster.
Usually, if you say to a watch industry Depthmaster, what's gonna come? Sharks, big stuff, and so it's the total opposite of big stuff. It's like water. I mean, jellyfish are 99.99% of water. They are like untouchable and kind of ghosty. So we were like, okay, we've got the ghost of Pac-Man and the master of the death that nobody talk about. So we want to try to bring stuff that, and some language and some ideas that the other cannot bring. So
I love that. So just, to refresh you guys, if you're not completely familiar with Nivada Grenchen, the Depthmaster has a specific model with an Art Deco dial that kind of looks like figures from Pac-Man, well, Pac-Man himself. Yeah. And so the sobriquet that's been bestowed onto this watch by collectors is the Pac-Man. Yeah. But in the discussion of Pac-Man, they were like, well, Depthmaster, it also sounds like Deathmaster. And when Pac-Man dies, he floats up in space, right? And like, is it like a little...
Work with us. Come in our team. Maybe something like that could come.
But anyway, tell me about the launch of this watch and what was the success like? From what I understand, they sold out in, as you said,
in second. So that was crazy. But we made 10 pieces also with Odinky, with the grey jellyfish. We made the blue, this one with Perpetual, with Hamdan in the Middle East, and 3 other colors that were only available on our website. And then it sold out, yes, quickly, in second or a few minutes for some colors. And so we said, okay, this idea is cool, people like it. So then we did almost 1 year after the Keep Frozen with the Super Antarctic, and this one also, but it's another pillar of the collection of Nivada. It's the Antarctic collection that went to the Antarctic in expedition for Operation Deep Freeze with the U.S. Navy back in the 60s, and then Romaric had some idea around the Antarctic, cold, keep frozen, and all the, how do you say that, the frozen products, frozen goods you can find in the supermarket. Right. They have all this logo, keep frozen, and he said, why not to put keep frozen on the watch? And
that's the Antarctica and polar expeditions. If you want to get a little piece of that history, you've got the catalog pieces of Nivada, and you've got other people in this industry talking about polar expeditions. So, okay, we think about those heroes like discovering, and I was like, okay, I don't want to talk about those heroes there. I want to talk about the everyday life heroes. The guy and the girl that buy frozen goods and put them in the fridge. So I'm killing the dream here. I admit. You are thinking about Antarctica, and I'm bringing you back to a fridge. So that's usually the phrase. You don't do that in the watch industry, and I love this industry for that. It's supposed to open your dreams, and
even the packaging. We use ice cold bag.
Oh really?
Yes.
I love that.
So I want to do the opposite. So on this one, I was like, let's close the dream and to bring it back to really basic reality. Because I want to do the opposite. If you're gonna say one color, I will say another one. So that sometimes it's my North Star. It's to go south. You know what I mean? So.
Okay, so let's go from that to the watch brought us here today, which is an incredible collaboration between you and Guillaume's other brand, Vulcan. And so you have brought back the Vulcain Cricket to actually, if I'm not mistaken, enormous critical and commercial success. I mean, the watch has done super well. And I think a lot of that is the beauty of the design, which goes back to the very origins of the model. Tell me a little bit about that watch.
Exactly. First. So first, the background on this is seeing the success I had with Nivada to revive the brand and to... I saw the success because people were aware that I brought back the exact same DNA, exact same product design, and so I met the Vulcan owners in Luxembourg 1 year ago, exactly 1 year ago, and I brought them my vision of how we could make Vulcan great again, and they like the idea, they like the business plan I proposed them. So since November last year, I started I go to Le Locle, to the museum, to check the best watches from the museum, the one I prefer, the one I was thinking, we were thinking that made sense to reborn and to revive, and that's how I came with this classic line of product. I bought you. A big glimpse of everything, a bit of everything. so with the new Cricket, both the tradition and classic dial, you have also the new chronograph that will come next. That I show you also in quite exclusivity, you know.
Oh, thank you.
And with the Salmon dial of the mono pusher also,
Fantastic.
the Real Madrid watch, and then that's so we met when we met in Geneva at Time to Watches. That I started to speak about you about Nivada. I also tell you, hey, I'm also reviving Vulcan.
Yes.
And said, what the hell?
Yeah.
And,
Yes, I did.
yes. And I said, okay, and I started to send you the pictures of what was going to come back. And I think it was this one.
Correct.
So the 36 millimeter with this very classic and iconic dial, and the one I also started to speak with Romaric because we are exchanging a lot of what we think about this brand. You take Vulcan, you could do that, and Romaric started to make his poil à gratter thing, approach, and he started to think about the Vulcain, Star Trek, and that's exactly when I started to speak to you about those things, and then we started to engage the conversation and the collaboration, and we say why not to make something all of free of us, and that's how we came. Romaric came with this,
so with this
and the Vulcan sign
with this guy talent and energy, so is like bringing back Vulcan.
Yes.
And for me, when I hear Vulcan, is Vulcain in French. Huh?
Yes.
That's so the Vulcan salute,
Yes.
le salut Vulcan.
Yes.
It's like hello. It's hello. So cricket is basically saying hello again. So it was like quite obvious for me.
Even me, I didn't think
It's phenomenal. It's phenomenal. I love this.
And you know the subtitle of this salute, yes. It's
live long and prosper.
Live long and prosper.
Yes.
So I mean, can you imagine better welcome back than that? Yes. I couldn't. So that was the immediate and good feeling about this idea. And of course, I'm putting end on ends. You know what I did with Bamford as well. So that's something that I work with the end design. And then that was there. And after that, I like to dig a little bit. Even if what I'm going to talk is not something that you can market, but there is good story about Vulcan, the god of fire in the Roman mythology. Okay.
Yeah, yes.
Yeah,
and then a planet. Yeah. At some point, people were saying a French guy in the 19th century said, considering the Mercury orbit, it must be a planet between Sun and Mercury. And it went from it must be to there is. So I was like, okay, come on. I love this kind of, this guy is obsessed. It's a French mathematician in the 19th century. He's he thinks that there is a planet. He thinks, and then he's saying, yes, there is. So that's obsession. The guy, it turned out to be like not true. So like a failure. But I like this kind of people, obsessed, because they are they are made of the same breed, are the people that are obsessed and end up winner. But this French, it's very French for me. This story, this collab is very French to me because there is this French mathematician that was obsessed, that claimed and that turned loser. And I like the losers. I like loser because you know this watch industry sometimes they talk a lot about the winners and we forgot about the losers. And they work they work kind of the same.
Yeah. Being a good loser makes you into a winner. You know
exactly.
What I mean? And trust me, I know. So what I love about this watch is it also references a culture that I love. You know, so Star Trek. I'm a Trekkie, obviously. Yeah. It's funny. I was just hanging out with Vianney Holter, and you know, he even has his personal watches in Klingon. That's how much he loves Star Trek. You know. Okay. But what I love about it, and maybe this is a really important thing for today, right, is that this TV show, which was created, you know, over half a century ago, was already talking talking about brotherhood and sisterhood. It was about embracing all cultures, you know?
Yeah.
And if you look at it now, the world is in some way more polarized than it was even when Star Trek was coming out. And I think the universality of this Vulcain salute, which is meant to be something that can go to all cultures, you know, the idea of living long and prosper to everyone, I think is a really important message for now, and I really like that also. I think it's very positive.
Yes, especially in this period.
So, okay, Guillaume, give it to us. Like, there's 4 different versions.
Exactly.
Give us the specifics of this and where the color codes come from.
Yes, but at first we were thinking to only launch the 36mm version. Then we launched our first prototype like this, exactly. Then we also have developed in parallel the 39mm case that I also show you and sent you. And then we decided, because, for example, for the relaunch, we relaunched the pre-orders in September. We made already like 1 million of pre-orders already, and we sold like 50% of 36 and 30% of 39.
Right.
So we decided to add to the variation also the 39mm version, and we made 4 colors, and so the green, the blue, the yellow, and the red, and they will come also both with the additional strap with the color of the ends, and the colors are coming from the TV show. In fact, in the
uniform.
The uniform, yeah.
Right, exactly.
So you have the nice moutarde, sweater. Yes, and that's what we wanted to find. That's Romaric wanted to have also on the watch, is this kind of color that are not that fashionable right now.
Yes.
Sometimes, and especially the moutarde in France, and that's how it came. So it's also based on the TV show and on the TV colors, on the colors of the show, and that's why it's cool also with Romaric. Everything has a inside story. So, and sometimes it's going too inside, and sometimes even me, I don't understand all the layers, and so I read again and I said, okay, the first time I didn't see that. Right. And we have a WhatsApp discussion that is a total mess, and with a lot of things, and not always in the watchmaking industry.
Amazing.
And that's all it's our brainstorm, and that's we came.
Well, I love that. So all 4 of the watches come with black dials and applied indexes. The 2 36mm versions are the green and mustard, right?
Yep.
And they come with gold indexes and hands.
Exactly.
And the 39mm is the blue and the red, and they come with silver or rhodium indexes and hands.
Exactly.
And we're making 25 of each of them.
Exactly.
So that you may have your opportunity to pick the one that means the most to you.
Yeah.
Romaric, Guillaume, what a cool project. Thank you so much for the collaboration.
Thank
you, sir.
It was a pleasure.
Thank you,
sir.
Very big pleasure.
And live long and prosper.
Oh my, j'arrive pas à le faire, moi. J'ai pas le truc, moi.
Cheers.